Good morning, everyone. The topic today is, and good evening to those who are in China. The topic today is changing demographics, changing futures, perspectives from China and Brazil. For some time, we have been planning a discussion about demography in the context of the Chinese program at CEBRI. In China and Brazil, aging of citizens has a strong social and economic long-term implications, and our perception is that both countries have a lot to gain if we are able to exchange knowledge and experiences about trends, public policies, and their impact on urbanization and on the general state of the economy. Our speakers today are, first, Professor Ren Yuan, professor at the Institute of Population Research at Fudan University and at Fudan University School of Social Development. His recent publications include Fertility Policy Transition in China, Chinese Population Development Report, and China's Next Urbanization. Thank you very much for joining us today, Professor. Our second speaker is Professor Li Jiting, Director at the Center for Environmental Economic Studies at Fudan University, Executive Director of the Fudan Institute of Green Finance, and Deputy Director of the Shanghai Key Lab of Ecological Environmental Governance Policy. Dr. Li has presided over a number of research projects at the national, provincial, and ministerial levels, and published more than 100 papers in academic journals, and was awarded a number of academic prizes and recognitions. Our third speaker from Brazil, from IBGE, Geography and Statistics Institute, is Dr. Isabel Guimarães Marri, a researcher at IBGE, and she holds a PhD in demography from the Federal University of Minas Gerais, and a degree in economics also from the Federal University of Minas Gerais. Among her research topics are population projections, mortality, fertility, demographic methods, demographic censuses, and quality and gender. A special thanks for all the participants this morning. We are going to start with Professor Ren Yuan, then we are going to listen to Professor Li Jiting, then to Dr. Isabel, and then we are going to have a brief discussion. If you have questions, you can post your questions, and they are going to be addressed to me by Isabella Avila from CEBRI, who's also joining us this morning. So, Professor Ren Yuan, you start.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Karamuru, and I'm very happy to participate in this webinar. And I will share you my PowerPoint. And then I prepare a topic on the China's demographic changes. And we all know that India surpassed China in 2023, and now India is the country with the largest population. But China still is a country with a huge population. So the population size in China is 1.4 billion. And with this huge country, and so China also have very huge size of labor force. The labor force in China is with the population age of 15 to 64 is 960 million, and almost 1 billion. And also with the huge population size country, also it is experiencing fast aging, and the it is also a large aged society. The population aged 65 and above is 220 million, and now is 15.6% of total population. The older age dependency ratio is 22.8%, and the total dependency ratio is 45.8%, almost near 50%. And as a large population, large size of population, it also includes the large scale of population migration and mobility. The inter-provincial migrants is 142 million, and the floating population, that means the people left their resident place half a year, and it is 376 million according to the 2020 population census. And compared to the huge dynamics of internal migration, and China ranks relatively low among world's main immigration destination, and the total immigrants in China is just 846,000. While China is a big immigrant country, and the Chinese immigrants in the world is 10 million. And China, the huge population size country, and also now is experiencing the huge urbanization process. The urbanization degree in China is 67%, and the population living in urban area in 2024 is 944 million. So we can compare to the year of 2000, China, the urban population in China is 459 million. So the urbanization process is very fast and huge, and China is experiencing the fastest urbanization process in human history. And next, let we take a look at the changes in China's population, and from the year 1950 to the end of 2100, and China is experiencing a 150 years population change cycle, and from 1950 to 22. China experienced the fast population growth and slow down the growth in the 1980s. And in the year of 2022, China is started, it began the demographic decline. The population is decline. And according to the UN's population prospects, the population will the upper line is the population prospects in 2022, and the lower is in 2024. In 2050, China's population will decline to around 1.25 billion, and reach to 650 million end of this century. The total fertility rate in China is around is between 1 to 1.2, and the number of population births every year is declining, and the number of population deaths is increasing, and it will top at the year of 2060s, and then the annual death population will decline. About the regarding to the China's population structure, also experience the fast undergo a completed trend of changes in the context of population change. you could see from the 1970s to 2010, the proportion of children is declining fast from 40% to around 15%, and due to low fertility, and the labor force is increasing fast from 400 million to recently 1 billion. So the aging is increasing after 1970s, but the aging degree is still very low. So the total dependency ratio is decreasing from 1970s to 2010. You could so this is a vivid explanation on the demographic dividend because of increasing labor and decreasing dependency ratio provide a good population environment for economic growth. And we could see the declining of declining of dependency ratio is mostly caused by the low fertility. But in the future, the China's population structure have a huge change. The proportion of children is decreasing. Now it is 18%, and in the long term it will decrease to 10%. And the population size of children is decreasing fast due to low fertility. And the labor force is already decreased from 2010. But before 2035, the China still have a huge labor force around 1 billion. It is between 900 million to 1 billion. And after 2035, the labor force will decrease much faster. And this shows the population aging. And the aged population aging is very quickly because of low fertility and high mortality, low mortality, and also it is the cohort effects of the people born from 1960s to 1975 will enter into the old age. So the aged population increased fast, and now the aged population is 220 million now, and in the 2060s it will peak around 450 million. And after that, the aged population will decrease while the aging degree will increase. So the dependency ratio now is already increasing, and is 45% now. And in the end of this century, it will reach almost 120%. And so it is a typically inverse trend from 2010 to end of this end of century with the 1970s to 2010. And the most important reason of increasing of dependency ratio is caused by aging. So you will see from the figure. And compared to the low fertility and the low mortality, the most prominent factor of China's population change is migration and mobility. In context of the economic development, and so the population mobility will increase. And now you will see the most migrants are destined region is in the eastern and the southeast area, and the main people are migrated from inland China. And in recent decades, we also see a increasing trend of population size of return migration. One reason is because of those waves migrants are getting older. They will increase their proportion of return back to the hometown. And another reason is the industrial transfer from the eastern area to the inland. But why the population size of return migration is increasing and the return rate of those migrants is decreasing? So that means more and more migrants are tended to living in the stay and living in the destiny area. So migration is causing the regional population distribution changes, and more and more provinces are in the process of population decrease. And so far, only very few provinces like Zhejiang and Guangdong are experiencing population increase, and more provinces are experiencing population decrease. The population regional diversification is trend mainly by migration, and the urbanization now is started to slow down. Especially in eastern area, so you will see the urbanization degree from 2000 to 2010 is 14% in eastern area, while in the year of 2010 to 20, it is 11.1%. In recent few years, the urbanization speed is slowing down. But still, there are huge amount of people living in the cities. China now is not a rural society. Now it is mainly an urban society. And more people are migrating into bigger cities and mega cities. And now there are around 20 cities. Their population is more than 5 million. In the city areas and 6 mega cities, and the bigger metropolitan area and urban clusters is the main pattern of urban spatial patterns, especially in several. The China's government have concluded 19 urban clusters, and those 19 urban clusters have almost 90% of urban population are living in these clusters, and especially those in 5 urban clusters, metropolitan area like Yangtze River Delta area, those top 5 consist of 60% of total urban population. So we can make a quick conclude of the population change and China's development. It is always people are very interested in the topic and attract a lot of attention. And for example, in European, people think the long-term low fertility is a kind of demographic suicide, and also the people think the population structure change is a kind of demographic cliff. And in China's population change also attract a lot of attention, and they think the demographic dividend is diminishing, and the low China now is almost trapped in the low fertility trap, and aging is fast. And we in the population change have the labor force decline and the increasing dependency ratio, and urbanization is slowing down, and they are hollow out in some rural areas, and because of the total population is declining, so the urban system is changing. Some urban is increasing, and some cities is decreasing. The urban shrinkage is a typical issue. So there are a lot of pessimistic talks on China's population change and future development. but we could also see there are also some positive impacts of the positive side of the population change. For example, reducing population size actually reducing the pressure to resources and environmental system, and increase the people's public service acquisition for every people, and also the shrinking, the decrease of labor force and the increasing of aging also push forward the technology innovations. For example, increasing the application of humanoid robots. And those are all factors to increasing productivity. And regarding to aging is increasing people's longevity and increases the life expectancy, especially healthy life expectancy. It also provide a lot of new human resources of the older people. So China as a super large aged society also means potential of older age human resources. And the aging also have the potential to increasing the services and consumption for the old care and older people. So the silver economy is a new development opportunity for China. And we also pay much attention on the migration, as migration and mobility is mostly important, prominent factor on population dynamics. And those migration is a kind of allocation of human resources and talents. And it is beneficial for destining regions. It also beneficial for origin regions. It is not a simple brain drain. It is also another a kind of brain gain and brain circulation. So we should not have a very simple pessimistic view on China's population and future change. And but it is urgent to change the traditional labor-based, huge labor-based and decreasing dependency ratio based the economic model to a kind of model based on increasing based on increasing dependency ratio and where utilize human resources, especially human capital, to make a kind of new demographic dividend-based model. And this kind of economic model is opening, has already opening, but we need more reforms and smart development strategies to maintain these opportunities. And our group also made a simulation on China's population change and economic growth in the long term. And in different scenarios, the main population factor have impacts on the economic growth. We will see from the 2037 to it almost in 2037 to 2040, the total effects of the labor size and population structure and education of human capital will before 2040, before 2037 to 2040, China still experience a good positive demographic environment, and so we can call this opportunity window. And but in the long run, it have some problem, but still need reforms to maintain the new development dividend for China's future development. So that's my talk, and thank you.
Microphone. Thank you very much, Professor Ren Yuan. Now we are going to listen to Professor Li Zheting, who's going to talk about
Yes.
demographics and environmental impact on the environmental economy. Before doing so, let me just say a word of thanks to our sponsor, Banco BOCOM BBM. They have encouraged for some time that we hold this debate, and we are very happy that we can have the debate today. Professor Li Zheting, you can
Thank
proceed.
you, Ambassador Marcus, and also thank you for Professor Ren Yuan for your wonderful speech. And I would like to add a few points from perspective of the green and the low carbon development. Because actually my research mainly focus on the green economics and the green finance. Actually, as you know, just mentioned by the Professor Ren, and China's population evolution is also exerting an impact on the field of climate change and environmental protection. So just like I think like the same situation faced by Brazil. So I want to check about connections that shapes our countries or our two countries' future and the people and the green development. Especially in China, we just implement a double carbon goals, means peaking emission by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2060. It's just like policy targets, but also it's a response to our 1 billion people, their energy needs and their living choices and changing ages. And so today I want to focus on how just like population drives and challenges our green union, and how we are turning these challenges into action. So first I want to introduce the latest status of China's green and low carbon development. First, just about the basics, and China have already built a policy system to guide the green growth, like the green credit guidelines. Lots of policy related to the green economics, green industry, and green finance sector, just to motivate the banks, the market to fund low carbon projects. By later 2024, like last year, and over 200 such policies were in places, and so the policies are designed to keep up with our population demands. For example, Shanghai's low interest loans for community solar panels, they are just not green, and they are a way to power almost 10,000 households as more people move into the city. And after such kind of policy, actually in the last decade, we achieved lots of agreements, lots of achievements in energy transition to the green side. And our energy shift is real, but it's also a race against the population growth. The figure shows non-fossil energy installed capacity jumped from very low level to high level in 2024. So just like in 2024 alone, we added 110 gigawatt of solar electricity. That's enough to power 50 million homes. But here's the catch: our total, energy use still rose because every year more and more people needs electricity from their homes, their phones, and daily lives. And the industrial banks, I think in China, commercial banks, almost lends 30 billion yuan green loans to rural solar projects. And that's not just cutting emissions. They are keeping up with almost 800 million rural residents growing energy needs. So maybe cannot find the detail today. And last thing that actually we just push our industry transform to the green development. Even older industry are going green, but population pressure pushes them faster. So I think, yeah, the population has two sides things on the industry. Like a steel industry, they cut coal use from very high level to low level. And so that's thanks to the banks, lots of green loans for the new and the energy efficiency equipment. Why? Because our 1.4 billion people needs steel. Steel, I think, for buildings, cars, and infrastructure. We cannot stop making steel. So we have to make it clean, make it green. So, and the new energy car makers like BYD, I think, is famous not in China, but also in Brazil, used lots of monies in green bonds to build a factory and create lots of jobs. So that's not just about electric cars. It's about meeting 350 million car owners' demand for clean transport. And what's exactly impact of population on the China's green and low carbon development? I think we have about three aspects to analyze these things. And the first thing is that the population size still is a very bigger scale challenges for the environmental protection. 1.4 billion people means massive energy demand, and that's the biggest pressure on the green development. I not to show detailed data about this, and some analysis shows that every 1% population growth leads to 0.8% more energy use. Second is that we need talk about the population's structure, especially the aging and urbanization, mentioned as the Professor Ren. It's the dual pressures to our environment. First is the aging population. We have almost 300 million people over 60. Almost takes the 21% of our total population. This hits green development in two ways. First is that labor, it brings labor shortages. The 15 to 59 working age population drops by 30 millions in a decade. Our solar and wind farms need workers to install panel and maintain turbines, and that's the things. And the second, energy use changes after the population become aging faster, and seniors spend almost 50 or 60% time at home. So their per capita energy use is 1.2 times that of working age groups, and heating, medical devices, even TV times, and all add up. It's a things of the aging. Second is the urbanization. The concentration maybe is good things. So like Professor Ren mentioned that almost 67% of us in China lived in cities. And the cities uses 75% of our total energy. So on the one hand, density still helps concentrated heating is 30% more efficient than home heaters. But on the other hand, more people in cities mean more car, more building, and more factories. Just like in Shanghai, Shanghai is a village is a perfect example. The village has 437, I remember, 37 households, and crammed into a small, very, very small area. They are smarter recycling bins, cut waste by almost 40%, but the village still uses 2 times more energy per square kilometer than rural areas. The Beijing, the Guangzhou, the other big cities has the same situation, similar situation. Last thing is pressure is from the population is the consumption pattern. What our people buy, directorships emissions. Good news also is that 6.88 billion new energy cars were sold in 2024 last year, and take almost 30% of all new cars. So it's thanks for the low carbon, low interest loans, lots of green financials. But the bad news that we still now have a totally 350 million private cars, and it's compared to the 10 years ago, almost 150 million more than that year. So each gas-powered car emitted 2.5 tons of carbon a year. So 350 million cars, it means almost 875 million tons of emission annually. That's more than the total emission of many countries, maybe include the Brazil. Even small choices add up. Energy-saving fridges have almost 60% of market share, but 1 billion households using old inefficient air conditioners still waste 100 billion kilowatt hour a year. So our people want better lives, and that's a good things. And but better life often means more energy use, balancing quality and of life with low carbon is our biggest consumers challenge. Last things I want to talk about our research about how to promote synergistic development of a population green low carbon development. First thing I think still we have to promote the policy making tie green goals to population needs. Yeah, we need a policy that don't just go green, but work with our population reality. Second is that we need to teach the total population about 1.4 billion people can be a very strong strength if they can understand the link between their own choices, including production choices and the consumer choices and the environment. I think it's very important things. And the last thing that we still have to get knowledge of the latest technology innovation, especially use technology to outpace population pressure and lots of pressure. So in conclusion, and I think it's very, I just add some new point from perspective of low carbon green development to the Professor Ren's speech. And China's green journey isn't just about a solar panel policy. It's about 1.4 billion people, their needs, their challenges, their potentials. So our population size brings massive energy demand. And our aging brings labor gaps. Our urbanization brings density. But I think it's very important that they still, it's a pressure, and they still is the drivers for us to promote the green and low carbon development in the future. That's all. thank you, and we could have some talk and after the sessions end. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. This was also a very interesting presentation. Now I'll pass the floor on to Dr. Isabel Mari for the Brazilian points of view of this discussion. Professor Dr. Isabel.
Hello, good morning to the ones in Brazil and good evening to the ones in China. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the professors for the great presentations. And can you see my screen? So I'll be focusing on the new demographic reality in Brazil. I'll be talking about demographic transition in Brazil. Brazil is undergoing a profound demographic shift, moving from a large young population to a smaller, older one. So the demographic transition started with a decline in mortality since the mid-1940s. After the World War II, the Second World War, with medicines and antibiotics coming from abroad. And it was followed by a decline in fertility 2 decades afterwards. So this time gap between declining mortality and declining fertility made population grow. And Brazil's total fertility rate has fallen from 6.2 children per woman in 1960 to a record low of 1.58 in 2022. And since the mid-20s, the total fertility rate has been consistently below the population replacement level of 2.1 children per woman. So it was pointed already that population would decrease. Different from China, no government-mandated family planning occurred in Brazil. The main drivers for decreasing infertility were access to contraception, widespread availability and use of modern contraceptives, particularly since the 60s, rise in women's education and their entry into the workforce, urbanization. Many moved from rural areas where large families were an asset to cities where they became a financial burden. And today, the Brazilian population is almost 90% live in urban areas. And we also saw the movement from the less developed areas, such as the Northeast to the Southeast. So the urbanization was also a driver to fertility decline in Brazil. And also cultural aspects, such as popular media normalizing a smaller size family as the ideal family size. As a result, births have been decreasing, and we expect that the births are going to decrease even more in the future. As a consequence, population is aging, and the pool of working age individuals will eventually shrink. And the demographic dividend is going to an end. So Brazil has benefited from demographic dividend period with a high proportion of working age population. But this window is closing, and the country must now focus on productivity and technology to sustain growth and also to sustain the aging population. About population aging, the proportion of people aged 60 and over nearly doubled between 2000 to 2024, and it will be a 30% of total population by 2050. And also you can see the proportion of people 18 plus also growing. And also population decrease is expected to start by 2042. And that also depends on how fast births are going to decline. So an aging population strains pension and healthcare systems. And these are maybe the two main challenges that we must face. So if we talk about pension system in Brazil, it is structured around three main regimes. The first two regimes are public and they are mandatory. So the mandatory public systems operate on a pay-as-you-go basis, meaning active workers contribute to fund current retirees' benefits. So if we are in an aging population and the pool of active workers will shrink, so this is a burden, and we have to talk about that. Actually, a reform took place in 2019, aimed exactly to address the system's growing deficit and to adapt to the aging population. There were some changes, and the main changes were that there was an increase in the age of retirement to 62 for women and 65 for men, with 15 years of contribution for women and 20 years of contribution for men. There was the end of the retirement by contribution years only, without the minimum age, and the benefits and death benefits were decreased. So these were important, but not. But there's still some place to go. We still have to talk about reforms in the pension system in Brazil. And if you talk about health system in Brazil, Brazil has this very big public model. It's a mix of public and private models. So in Brazil, there is the SUS, the Sistema Único de Saúde, which was established in 1990 as a constitutional right. So the SUS offers a universal free health assistance for all Brazilians and foreigners. And foreigners there are in Brazil. And it provides services ranging from the primary care and vaccinations to emergency treatment, organs transplant, and specialized care. And it's centralized between the state, municipal, and federal governments. And the big challenges are chronic underfunding, concentrations of services in more developed regions, and the need to improve efficiency and infrastructure. So as population age, health expenditures tend to rise due to increasing prevalence of chronic diseases and the higher healthcare needs of older adults, such as long-term care and more complex treatments. So population aging needs policy responses. We must rethink social policies as healthcare and pensions, as I have already said about. We must adapt these programs and social programs to the needs of this older population. We must boost productivity, because with a smaller workforce, investments in education, technology, and innovation are critical to ensure long-term economic prosperity. We must boost formal labor force participation, because that is what's going to be for the pension system. This is going to be very important to manage the retirees' benefits. We must also encourage female participation. So policies that support women in the workforce, such as enhanced parental leave and affordable childcare, can help address fertility decline and promote economic growth. And also immigration. While migration is a smaller factor in Brazil, we can count only 1% of total population is due to migration, international migration in Brazil, so it's small compared to other countries. We can manage immigration could help offset population decline, particularly at the state level. It could be international migration or internal migration too. So the time to act is now. An aging population has very many good things about it. It means that we are living longer. This is exactly what we want, but population needs some policy responses, and that's what the government should be doing now. So this is all I have, and I'll be glad to answer questions if you have any. Thank you.
Well, I think these were very interesting presentations, and we were able to establish a parallel and see the differences between the Chinese reality and the Brazilian reality in terms of migration and in terms of public policy needs and the impact of demography on different aspects of public policy management in the two countries. Let me ask one question and also read one or two questions brought by the audience, and then we go ahead. My first question is to Professor Ren Yuan. Professor, I would like to hear from you a little bit of the impact of the demographic trends on Social Security in China and on retirement policies and what's going to be the impact of retirement and Social Security in the medium run.
Yes, the China take the retirement policy change. I think last year, retirement age. From beginning of 2025, similar like the Brazil's reform in 2019, and in modeling the postpone of legal retirement age will be beneficial for the Social Security because people have longer time for pay the security and have less time to get the pension. But it is in statistics and in modeling, and we should consider there are comparatively high unemployment rate in older age. So whether this postpone of retirement age do have real effects to the pension, we still need to wait and see.
Thank you very much. I understand that Social Security is still a municipal issue in China, isn't it?
No, it is in state level and municipal level also have pension and also have Social Security, and the Social Security is more and more to take a state level integral Social Security system. So far, the Social Security is divided into different pools based on province and county, but have the trend of integration.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I'll address the second question to Professor Lee. It comes from one person from the audience, Mauricio Une. These are two questions actually, but Professor Ren Yuan, you can also jump in. Are there concerns in China about food security in the future, given that there will be less youngsters, especially in the rural areas? And his second question is, will humanoid robots replace youngsters in the rural areas? Professor Lee.
Actually, I'm not familiar with that field of food security. But I think in terms of environmental pollution, we want to improve the living quality of the people in China. We just want to make sure, the environment is health first, and then we can just make the food production, around the rural area and the urban area is more healthy based on our good environmental quality. I think maybe it's my answer because I'm not researching on the directly on the food security things. And the other question about the AI or robot use, I have already mentioned in my speech as that we have to implement lots of policy to promote the AI because it's not only just useful for the coverage of the shortage of the population. I mean working population, working force, but also after we solve the problem of the green energy supply, it's a very important condition, and under this condition, the robot is, I think, it's good things for us. Otherwise, and more and more AI and information implication robot will impose more pressure for our energy, for our environment. It's not a good thing for us. I think it's the same for Brazil. So if we could fix the green energy problem, I think we should use more and more AI or robot to work for us instead just replace our working forces after the population is aging very fast, mentioned by Professor Ren. Yeah, it's my answers to these two questions. Thank you.
Professor Lee, let me ask you another question. You emphasize very much the idea of education, isn't it? That educating population for the sustainable economy. And my question is, how does it work in China? Do you think there's a general perception of the need of the population to get engaged with sustainability and sustainable development? And do people make a connection between this and the aging of population in China?
Yeah, actually, just I give a very unique cases about climate change, and about 10 or 15 years ago, and less Chinese people know the things of climate change. But right now, I think the knowledge of climate change and lots of green development has already entered not only just the education system, just like a university and the high school and even the kindergarten, but also because recent years we implement lots of policy related to the green development, green finance, and green economics. So actually, we already the government create very useful incentive for us. I think economic incentive is the best education for the people, because use more energy and emit more CO2, and they have to pay the emission and the energy use, and I think it's good another kind of education for the people. So other than the the economic incentive, we already have a very systematic the legal system to actually to force the companies and the local government to join these green development lines. And so right now, as I have just experienced in the school, in the university. I teach the environmental economics and the green finance for the graduate and undergraduate, and it's very typical that more and more students, young students, join this class recent years. So I think it's a result of a very long-term education. Is a signal for us to know the whole society, get lots of more knowledge about the green development already. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much. I have a question that to the three of you, and I will start with the answer by Dr. Isabel. The question is the following. The question is from the audience. They say, both countries are investing in digital infrastructure and industrial upgrading. Of course, China is investing much more than Brazil. But the question is, to what extent can technology offset the demographic slowdown? And when does it start to replace rather than support human labor? Dr. Isabel, you spoke about that. You spoke about the need to encourage productivity in Brazil, given the trends in demographics. Would you like to comment this question?
Sure, I can try, because this is I think it's the most difficult answer or question. We never know, you know, if technology can offset population increase. And the things that we have an aging population, and we must use that population in order to gain from this aging tendency that we have, you know. So we are not sure whether or when technology can offset the losses for an aging population, if this is the question, if I understand correctly. But the thing is that we must take the best out of our population, with the workers in active or productive age now, and it's going to shrink. So the most we can get out of it is what we need, because population will age, and we have very large cohorts to pay for, to live with, right? So there's not an exact answer for that, as I see. So we must really get the best out of it, and really boost technology and labor market, and the labor market for women also, in order to face the aging population. Did I answer, Ambassador?
That's fine. I'm going to ask the question also to the Chinese professors, but before doing so, I'm going to address to you another question that came from the audience from one of our very distinguished board members, Roberto Teixeira da Costa. And the question is to you, Dr. Isabel.
Sure.
Many countries around the world are implementing policies to boost birth rates. What kind of measures would be feasible in Brazil's context?
Well, these policies, they unfortunately don't have many good outcomes. I mean, you cannot really increase total fertility rate. The results are not so good. But there are things we can do in order to maybe stop the decrease in births, which are giving women especially the conditions to have children and to have a life of working, of, you know, less burden life. So these include schools for very young children, kindergarten, and maternal leave, and maternal leave for the father, paternal leave, and this kind of things. But unfortunately, the policies to stop fertility to decline, they don't get very good results. We cannot just turn around and make it start growing again. It really doesn't happen this way. It hasn't happened this way, because there's also this cultural thing about having or not having children, and it's difficult to make the wheel go around. So I guess if we have this better conditions for women to work and to have a life, less stressful life, and less economic, financial pressure, less financial pressure on families, that would be better, and would be better for them to decide if they have to have more, they want to have more children or not. That would be helpful.
Well, let me turn back to the Chinese professors and ask both questions to them. The first question is the one of having to do with the connections between demographic slowdown and technology. The question I'll repeat is, to what extent can technology offset the demographic slowdown, and when does it start to replace rather than support human labor? Professor Van Nguyen, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm actually it is based on faith, and you see, I'm a very optimistic person, so I have a very optimistic view on technology, and I think from the human history, the human have met different kinds of problems, and the improvement of technology always take the positive, in general, have the positive strength, a positive force to pushing the human civilization forward. So the world is experiencing bigger challenge of population shifts and climate change and other things. So technology is always the way forward. So the labor, so I don't think there are a lot of literature to show that the digital economy and AI, the technology development substitute the labor force, and it is true recently. We should not neglect it, but in the long run, we can only judge the future based on evidence we have experienced from industrialization and from the human history. The technology development always pushing forward economic development and produce more employment and more opportunities to so in the long run, it is not the technology substitute human labor force, but I think it will always support the human labor force, unless the human themselves less the innovation and take the place to the robots and AI.
Okay, let me address to you, Chinese, as well, the question about boosting birth rates. We have seen China going from the policy of 1 child to 2 children, now up to 3 children are allowed or even encouraged, and the government has been encouraging new couples to have kids with a number of new directives in terms of subsidies and some kind of support Can you give us an idea of what's the state of Chinese policies at this point, and what's your impression about their impact?
Okay, that's actually, I recently wrote a book, the fertility policy transition, from lowering fertility rate to the provision of childbearing and child caring services. So that is my answer, that the policy change on fertility occurs in China. So in the context of low fertility society, the government now is changing their attitude on fertility policy and developing a more fertility-friendly society to support people's childbirth and child caring. And so that's especially after the 2010s, the policy there are several policies and take the speed of policy on fertility is very intense, and I think those policies, including to provide childbirth and child care stipend and loosen the control of birth quota, and it is more free toward more freely childbirth, and also there are a lot of children holiday policies. So those policies is helpful for provide service for the young couples, and I think I suggest those policies. The government should take more and more such kind of policies to increase the well-being of young people and the families.
Very good. Professor Lee, there's a question for you, a topic that you touched in your presentation, but I think the audience wants a little bit more comments from you on that. The question is the following: given China's massive energy demand, how might demographic trends affect the pace and feasibility of its decarbonization efforts? The pace and feasibility, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's a very important question. As I have already mentioned that we just noticed that two projects come from on the energy use. One is the size of the population, and that's maybe it's not a good very important pressure for the energy consumption, because as Professor Ren said, in China, we have already peaked the summit of the population size in recent years. But the other things I think is very important, that the structure of the population, because the aging population, according to some analysis, the aging population were using more energy than the worker forces and the young people. Other things that lots of more and more people lived in the urban area. That will impose the pressure on the energy consumption, because the people lived in urban area will use more energy. final thing is that actually the consumption model is changing right now, and the people want to use more and more electric goods, and to live more and more spaces for the housing, and using lots of phones, and even in the future we will use lots of robots. So so I think just because think about this pressure from the structure of the population changed in the near future. So we just want to use more green energy. I think it's a reason, or it's a drivers for us why we kick off lots of dual carbon policies in recent 5 years from the 2020. I think it's one reason, one of the most important reasons for us. And I think we have two aspects of energy policy to overcome the pressure coming from the population. One is we still have to, improve the energy efficiency, and make our building and transportation, our production and consumption more energy efficiency, and use less energy support, more consumption and more production. The other aspects or solution is that we have to adopt more and more green energy, including solar energy, wind energy, like even the lots of other related clean energy, and after almost 5 to 10 years efforts, actually, right now, the structure of energy consumption in China has already changed. As I have mentioned, that some data shows that we have already about 20% to 25% of our total energy is coming from the clean or green energy. So compared to the last decades, is a very good improvements for us. It's also we have to, make more and more efforts to push, the development of green energy, such as we kick off the green financial policy. As I have mentioned in my speech, that the commercial bank and also including the central bank will issue lots of green loans and credits to the factory, to the consumers, to encourage the low carbon and green energy use in China. Right now, we almost take the green loans almost take about 15% of the total loans. I mean the total, just like in 100 yuan's credit or loans, that will spend 15 yuan into the green development, mainly into the development of the green energy. So it's a big progress for us to made in the past 5 years, just the past 5 years. So I think it's our efforts and of the policy to to overcome the pressure from the population in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor Ren Yuan, we have a question from Murilo Portugal Filho. Perhaps I should tell you that Murilo is an outstanding Brazilian economist, former Secretary of the Treasury, Deputy Minister of Finance. It's an honor for us to have him in the audience. The question is the following. You agreed that with aging and increasing the dependency rate, the traditional demographic dividend will fall. But you argued that there will be a new demographic dividend brought by technology. Will the net effect still be positive on economic terms?
Yes, we did some quantitative studies of the population change and economic growth. And before 2010 and after 2010, so the population and economic relations has changed. So you obviously before 2010 and the decreasing dependency ratio is positive related to the economic growth, and after 2010, the increasing dependency ratio is positive related with economic growth, and aging is positive relative to the economic growth, but in the long run, the aging have negative effects. So so far the aging and increasing dependency ratio is positive for economic growth. As Mason in the US have mentioned, they have paper on the second demographic dividend, have a similar view that the aging and increasing dependency ratio could provide long-term economic growth, and the technology development and those smart policies could make a more better population economic patterns for long run. I don't know whether I answered the question.
Well, I think you answered in a positive way. In the terms of the net effect is going to be positive. Am I right or wrong? Well, I think we have to close here. I would like to continue this discussion. I myself would have questions to you, but it's almost 10:30 and we have to close, and we have to allow you time to sleep because it's late in China. Professor Ren Yuan, Professor Li Jiaqing, Professor Dr. Isabel Marra, thank you very much for your presentations and for your participation in this debate. I think this was a very interesting debate. We started today, but we still have a lot to discuss, and we hope that we'll be able to have new debates at some point later on the same topic or on the impact of this topic on different government policies. I want to thank once again our sponsors, Banco BOCOM BBM. I want to thank the audience, a very qualified audience, I realize, that has been with us from the very beginning. And thank you very much to everyone until the next meeting about China and its policies and its connections with Brazil. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.